Garnold in Phase 1 looks like a freshly built robot mechanic, straight out of the Sprunki Industries workshop. His polished helmet reflects everything around him, as if he's scanning every nut and gear on the planet. He moves with the precision of an engineer and the excitement of a rookie just discovering his tools. Garnold can assemble any mechanism or take it apart just to see how it works. Sometimes he fixes other characters, but after his repairs, they might start blinking, humming, or suddenly dancing. He's the heart of Sprunki's mechanical chaos, and somehow he seems to enjoy every second of it. Garnold in Phase 1.5 shows the first signs of exhaustion. His once bright armor has dimmed into a deep metallic bronze, reflecting the long hours inside the Sprunki workshop. A single drop of sweat on his visor hints that even machines can feel pressure. The confident mechanic of Phase 1 now works slower, more cautious, aware of his mistakes. It's the moment where Garnold begins to understand that creation always comes with a cost. Garnold in Phase 2 marks the moment when Black's curse swept through the Sprunki universe. The once bright mechanic now wears the scars of corruption, his visor cracked, his colors darkened to metallic bronze and red. Every movement feels slower, as if his systems struggle against the spell that rewrote his code. He remains the same builder at heart, but his creations no longer respond to him as before. This phase shows how even the strongest mechanic can become a victim of the world he once helped construct. Garnold in Phase 3 represents the collapse of the mechanic's identity under Black's control. His systems overload, his programming fragments, and the bright engineer becomes a vessel of corrupted energy. The world around him distorts, metal bends, circuits hum, and his once precise movements turn violent and unpredictable. Every flicker of his visor shows glimpses of his fading consciousness. This is the point where Garnold stops repairing machines and starts becoming one. Garnold in Phase 3.5 shows the final stage of submission to Black's influence. His structure collapses, systems malfunction, and his mechanical shell twists in unnatural ways. The once precise engineer now exists in fragments part code, part emotion, part chaos. Yet amid the distortion, brief flashes of awareness appear, like his consciousness refusing to disappear completely. This phase captures the tragic beauty of a creator consumed by his own corrupted world. Garnold in Phase 4 is the embodiment of total corruption under Black's spell. His mechanical core deteriorates, circuits spark violently, and his identity fades into static. The mechanic who once built life now radiates destruction, a reflection of a system gone rogue. However, traces of resistance appear between the glitches, suggesting a struggle hidden beneath the chaos. This phase marks the critical turning point, the line between rebirth and oblivion. Garnold in Phase 4.5 represents the moment of fractured awareness. His systems, once entirely consumed by Black's spell, begin to reactivate fragments of old data traces of his former self. The internal conflict manifests in unstable movements and distorted signals, as if two programs are battling for control. His design is decayed, but his core still emits a faint mechanical heartbeat. This phase captures the painful beauty of rebirth, struggling to emerge from the wreckage of corruption. Garnold in Phase 5 marks the ignition of his inner core, a violent reaction between corruption and resistance. The red aura surrounding him symbolizes both destruction and the possibility of rebirth. His mechanical form radiates unstable energy, oscillating between control and collapse. The curse of black still binds him, yet each pulse of light tears at its grip. This phase captures the transformation of Garnold from a fallen mechanic into a force of raw, unpredictable power. Garnold in Phase 5.5 represents the awakening of unstable resistance. His corrupted systems begin to weaponize the very energy that once enslaved him, producing violent bursts of red distortion. The balance between creation and destruction collapses as his identity blurs into raw force. Every pulse of light now carries both liberation and decay. This phase defines Garnold's transformation from controlled subject to uncontrollable power, a mechanic reborn as the storm itself. Ready for a challenge? According to statistics, only 3% of viewers manage to like the video and subscribe to the channel before the timer runs out. Write a comment if you made it in time. Garnold in Phase 6 symbolizes liberation through transformation. The mechanic has escaped Black's domination, but the corruption left irreversible scars on his form and mind. His fractured visor and distorted grin reflect both victory and loss, the price of surviving the curse. The energy within him no longer obeys any law of creation or decay. It simply exists, raw and alive. This phase marks Garnold's rebirth as something beyond his original design, a being forged from chaos itself. Garnold in Phase 7 marks the ascension of the corrupted mechanic into a higher form of existence. His mechanical shell dissolves into pure energy, revealing a consciousness fueled by rage, memory, and creation. The red aura enveloping him is not fire, it's his mind breaking free from every limit imposed by the world of Sprunki. He is neither hero nor villain now, but the embodiment of power that both builds and destroys. This phase represents the paradox of Garnold's evolution, liberation through total transformation. Garnold in Phase 8 represents his full transcendence beyond mechanical form. The remnants of his body serve only as a frame for the immense eye that contains his consciousness. What began as rebellion against Black's control has evolved into omniscient awareness, where perception replaces action. Every motion of the pupil reshapes the surrounding space, as if reality itself responds to his observation. This phase portrays Garnold as both a witness and architect, the final evolution of the Sprunki mechanic into an all-seeing entity. Garnold in Phase 9 represents the culmination of his transformation, the unification of power, consciousness, and purpose. His form stabilizes, and the raw chaos of his earlier states crystallizes into controlled intensity. The red glow within his visor is not rage but awareness, the gaze of a being who has seen every layer of the Sprunki reality. His presence no longer bends the world, it defines it. This phase depicts Garnold as the architect of a new order, the embodiment of perfected corruption and serene dominion. Garnold in Phase 10 marks his full evolution into a creature of intellect and psychic dominance. The physical form remains only as a vessel for an expanding consciousness that transcends matter. His exposed neural structure glows with crystalline patterns, symbolizing the merging of machine precision and organic thought. The Sprunki realm now bends not to his strength, but to his imagination. This phase defines Garnold as the ultimate creation, a mind without boundaries, where innovation and insanity coexist as one. Garnold in Phase 11 embodies the beginning of dissolution. The fusion of thought and matter that once defined him now fractures, leaving behind only remnants of mechanical and organic structures. His expression remains eerily serene, as if he has accepted the inevitable decay. Around him, the fabric of the Sprunki realm begins to distort, mirroring his collapse. This phase represents the quiet unraveling of a god the moment before the final silence. Garnold in Phase 12 represents the conclusion of his transformation, the death of form, and the transcendence of essence. The shattered visor and the fading glow mark the extinguishing of a once boundless mind. His final state is neither victory nor defeat, but equilibrium. The mechanic has become part of the machinery he created. The Sprunki world remains shaped by his influence, even in his absence. This phase closes the cycle. Garnold's end is also the quiet reboot of everything he touched. Garnold in Phase 13 marks the final convergence of form and essence. His structure disintegrates into raw energy, yet the silhouette remains a monument of will and transformation. The chaos that once consumed him now radiates outward, shaping the very foundation of the Sprunki world. No longer bound by time, space, or code, Garnold exists as the eternal pulse within the system he once served. This phase concludes his evolution not with silence, but with the birth of a new reality bearing his signature. In Sprunki school, Mr. Tree immediately stood out. He was the only student who carried leaves instead of a backpack. He absorbed knowledge eagerly, but often dozed off in class when sunlight warmed his crown. During breaks, he stood in the yard, and everyone loved to sit under his shade, especially on hot days. Sometimes he rustled his leaves when someone was cheating, as if summoning a breeze of justice. Teachers wondered how he managed to grow faster than he learned, yet his optimism lifted everyone around. By the end of the year, Mr. Tree had become the symbol of the school, not the smartest, but the most alive. In Sprunki school, no one noticed the change at first, but Mr. Tree had become different. His shadow no longer cooled the air it breathed on its own. During lessons, he stayed still, and when the wind brushed his branches, a faint whisper echoed like a call from below. Teachers tried to cheer him up, but even laughter turned muffled around him, lost in his leaves. One morning, the class found his desk wrapped in thin roots, as if he refused to leave. Since then, they said that if you stared at his leaves long enough, you could see Black's reflection. After the stormy night, the Sprunki school stood silent, its windows fogged from the inside. Mr. Tree was the only one who showed up for class, yet someone kept answering roll call in the dark. The chalkboard wrote lessons on its own, and the word missing appeared again and again, carved deep into the surface. The sound of pages turning came from books that were long closed. Mr. Tree stood still, realizing the air carried the same metallic scent as Black's lab. When he looked at the classroom door, there was a new poster pinned to it, his own face, under the word missing. The next day, the walls of Sprunki School were painted in an eerie shade of red, though no one remembered doing it. Mr. Tree stood in the center of the classroom, and the light around him pulsed faintly, in rhythm with something unseen. The students' desks were empty, but faint imprints of hands remained on the wood, pressed deep as if by heat. Every window showed the same reflection. Mr. Tree's shadow, multiplied 100 times, swaying slowly. The school bell rang by itself, a single tone stretched too long to be human. When it finally stopped, the red light dimmed, but his roots were already spreading through the floor. The students returned to school, only to find a single white eye carved into the trunk of Mr. Tree. It followed anyone who entered the room, moving slowly but deliberately, as if judging their thoughts. The teachers pretended not to see it, but lessons grew quieter each day, words swallowed by unease. At night, the janitor swore the chalkboard wrote new messages, notes that matched the rhythm of the eyes blinking. One by one, chairs turned toward Mr. Tree, as though the classroom itself wanted to listen. By the end of the week, the eye closed, but every mirror in the building stayed open. In Sprunki School, strange things began happening after Mr. Tree grew a second eye. The blackboard started mirroring lessons from the previous day, but slightly distorted, as if someone else was teaching from another place. Students whispered that there were 2 classrooms now, one for the living and one for their reflections. When the bell rang, half of the desks were suddenly empty, yet the sound of pencils continued scratching faintly in the air. At night, janitors saw shadows studying on their own, tracing words that didn't exist. By morning, a note appeared on the board, written in perfect handwriting. Attendance doubled. The halls of Sprunki School became filled with a strange echo that didn't belong to anyone. Students swore they heard lessons being repeated in voices too deep and too calm to be human. The sound came from nowhere and everywhere, mostly when someone said Mr. Tree's name. Desks creaked in rhythm with the whispers, and the air felt heavy, like the school itself was holding its breath. When teachers tried to record the noise, all they captured was the sound of roots brushing against wood. By the end of the week, every student's notebook had the same lines scribbled inside. We are still learning. In Sprunki School, the wall behind Mr. Tree split open one morning, revealing a dark hollow shaped like a mouth. Teachers tried to cover it with boards, but the wood rotted overnight, leaving only a gaping space that whispered faintly. Students claimed to hear their own names called from within, soft and inviting, like someone familiar waiting inside. Desks near the hollow began to twist, their legs bending as if drawn toward the sound. At night, lights flickered across the hallway, tracing the shape of a heartbeat against the floor. By dawn, the hollow was gone, but in its place stood a single message written in chalk. "We finally spoke." When students returned to Sprunki School, they found only the bottom half of Mr. Tree. The top was gone, leaving clean rings that glowed faintly in the dark. The classroom smelled of burnt wood and something older, something alive. During lessons, the floor vibrated softly, matching the rhythm of breathing no one could locate. Sometimes, the desks shifted an inch closer to the stump, as if the room itself leaned in to listen. The teachers said nothing, pretending the sound wasn't real. But when night came, roots began creeping across the tiles, forming the faint outline of a missing shadow. The school introduced a new experiment for students to study emotional echoes. Mr. Tree, now reduced to a carved stump, stood in the middle of the classroom, his rings pulsing faintly with red light. Every sound made near him repeated seconds later, slower and colder, as if coming from another world. The laughter of children turned into low moans, even whispers came back distorted, sounding older and tired. By the third day, the echoes began speaking first, repeating lessons no one had taught. When the principal tried to remove the stump, the walls themselves started repeating, "Stay, stay, stay." Sprunki School announced a new lesson, Anatomy of the Unknown. When the students entered, they found Mr. Tree restored now with an eye and a mouth that seemed disturbingly human. The teacher claimed it was an advanced project from Black's Institute, but the air smelled of iron and decay. During the lecture, the eye followed whoever spoke, and the mouth twitched as if trying to repeat their words. By the end of the day, the class skeleton had vanished, and something moved behind the curtains. That night, a note appeared on the blackboard in shaky writing. Lesson complete. Next subject. Heart. Sprunki School's detention room had always been quiet until the night Mr. Tree was moved there for containment. The axe embedded in his trunk seemed decorative at first, but it dripped every time someone mentioned Black's name. Students locked in for punishment claimed the eye followed them, glowing brighter the more they spoke. One dared to touch the handle, and the doors sealed shut with the sound of roots scraping concrete. In the morning, the room was empty, except for the axe, stuck deep in the wall. A new rule appeared on the classroom board. Do not stare into the trunk after dark. Sprunki School hosted an evening assembly, but halfway through, the lights went out. In the darkness, a low hum began, followed by the sound of splintering wood echoing through the gym. When the lights returned, every poster and banner was torn into jagged patterns resembling branches. Students swore they saw something move above the stage, a shadow with a single glowing eye, whispering through the intercom even though it was unplugged. The next morning, the ceiling was covered in red sap trails that spelled out a single word: instinct. The principal ordered the gym closed, but at night, music still played there, though no one could find the speakers. The students of Sprunki School arrived one morning to find the classroom divided 3 separate rooms, yet each containing part of Mr. Tree. The middle section had an open eye that followed them between walls, blinking slowly as if measuring time. Teachers reported strange distortions in sound, their voices repeating from unseen corners of the room. The floors dripped with sap that pulsed to a rhythm no one could trace. At noon, the bells rang 3 times instead of 1, echoing from different directions at once. By evening, all 3 classrooms were gone, replaced by a single massive ring burned into the ground. At Sprunki School, the wooden panels in the hallway began sprouting thin branches overnight. The students laughed, calling it a decoration, until one of the branches opened an eye. The janitor tried to scrape it off, but it bled sap and twitched like living flesh. Within days, the wood grain across the school connected into one vast pattern that pulsed softly, breathing with the rhythm of footsteps. The teachers covered the walls with paper, but the ink from their lessons bled through, merging into red veins. Now, every night, the building creaks like a forest stretching in its sleep, whispering something only the trees can understand. The morning bell at Sprunki School rang early that day, and everyone gathered in the courtyard to find a new tree standing there tall, red, and impossibly still. Its surface was smooth like metal, but 2 faint eyes glowed in the center of its trunk. Teachers called it an art project, yet no one knew who had made it or when it appeared. As students watched, the eyes blinked, and a low voice began to read their attendance list perfectly. By the time it reached the end, half the names were missing from the paper. The next morning, the tree's bark had grown new rings, one for each absent student. The school year ended with an unexpected ceremony, but no one remembered organizing it. The courtyard was empty except for Mr. Tree, standing perfectly still beneath the red light of dusk. Teachers gathered nervously as the intercom turned on by itself, reading every student's name in a voice that echoed like wind through hollow wood. With each name spoken, the leaves above shimmered faintly, releasing a soft, falling dust that covered the ground like snow. When the list was finished, silence fell deep and heavy, as though the world itself was holding its breath. By morning, all traces of the event were gone, except for the faint outline of a diploma carved into Mr. Tree's bark. Funbot in Phase 1 looks like a goofy repair robot who tries to fix everything he sees and ends up breaking it himself. He's a bit like someone who found an instruction manual in another language and decided to build a space vacuum cleaner. Inside him, springs hum and bulbs flicker. It feels like he runs on coffee and optimism. Funbot loves buzzing jokes and builds tiny robots that immediately run away from him. Sometimes he plays sprunky music and dances right on his workbench. He's that kind of character you can't help but love a little rusty, but with a golden heart and a spark in his eye. In this phase, Funbot looks like a robot who woke up at night and realized his workshop was too quiet. He walks between the scattered parts, each step echoing like a hollow sound from nowhere. His smile is gone, but sometimes a short, nervous laugh flickers across his screen. It seems he found something inside him that should have stayed switched off. He still tries to build friends, but sometimes they start moving before he turns them on. Phase 2 is when his humor starts to spark in a different way. Funbot in Phase 2.5 acts like a robot who finally read all the error logs and didn't like what he saw. His single red eye moves like a scanner, glowing brighter every time someone lies near him. He still has that strange sense of humor, but now his jokes end with a quiet, mechanical laugh that sounds more like a glitch. He likes to rebuild objects perfectly, only to take them apart again, as if testing reality. Sometimes, lights flicker when he passes by, and you can hear a faint buzzing like a computer trying to warn you. Phase 2.5 is when Funbot's smile turns into pure data, funny, eerie, and strangely alive. Funbot in Phase 3 stands still, with his black screen reflecting everything like a mirror that hides a secret. He used to talk a lot, now he just lets the static do the speaking for him. His jokes have turned into pauses, long enough to make you uncomfortable. Every few seconds, a faint metallic knock comes from somewhere behind him, maybe a heartbeat, maybe not. He moves slower, but with purpose, like he's waiting for the right moment to react. Even without a face, you can somehow feel that he's still watching and smiling from the dark. Funbot in Phase 4 looks like he's been through an explosion of his own curiosity. The screen cracked, the light inside flickering like a nervous pulse. He keeps saying, "I'm fine," even when sparks fly from his head. His humor turned chaotic. Every joke ends with a short circuit or a puff of smoke. He still tries to build, but now he rebuilds himself, piece by piece, never quite the same. Sometimes, when he stops moving, you can hear faint laughter echoing from the wires inside. It's as if he's not sure whether to fix himself or just keep performing the comedy of being broken. Funbot in Phase 4.5 is a wrecked comedian of the Sprunki world, his frame twisted, his screen shattered, and colorful wires hanging like torn streamers after a chaotic show. He still tries to entertain, repeating jokes in a loop that sounds more like a cry for help. The red X on his face glows brighter every time he fails to reboot, as if mocking his own breakdown. Sometimes he hums a tune from his early days, but the melody cuts off into static halfway through. He's funny in a broken kind of way, still trying to make the audience laugh when his circuits can barely hold together. Behind all the sparks, there's a strange charm, a reminder that even a robot can fall apart beautifully. Funbot in Phase 5 looks like a machine that's reached the point of no return, his entire screen flooded with red, pulsing softly like a silent alarm. He doesn't laugh now, but you can still sense rhythm in the way he moves, like a dark echo of his old dance. Every sound around him seems to fade when he turns his head, as if the world itself holds its breath. Sparks no longer amuse him, they obey him. He's no longer joking about chaos, he is the calm before it. The once friendly mechanic has turned into something far more powerful and far quieter. Funbot in Phase 6 is a glitch-given form. His screen burns red with the word "error," but no one knows if it's a message or a scream. His body twitches in strange loops, replaying actions that make no sense anymore. The wires hum, the lights flicker, and somewhere inside, you can almost hear him trying to reboot. His sense of humor is gone, replaced by eerie echoes of his own voice repeating old punchlines that never finish. Every step he takes leaves a faint distortion, like the air itself doesn't want him there. He's no longer a robot, he's a living malfunction that refuses to shut down. Funbot in Phase 7 looks like a parody of his old self, a wide, happy face with too many teeth where a smile should be. His jokes now come out as glitchy, high-pitched giggles that echo in empty rooms. He spins around and gestures like he's performing on stage, but the stage is only wires and shadows. The screen's bright eyes blink at random, like someone else is driving his expressions. Every time he laughs, lights flicker and static hums, as if reality is reacting to him. He's not just funny anymore, he's the punchline you can't escape. Funbot in Phase 8 is pure chaos incarnate. His face is a burning red sphere surrounded by violent lines of energy. The smile is gone, replaced by clenched metal teeth that seem to grind with fury. When he moves, the ground hums, and the air feels thick, heavy, and charged. His voice is gone, but his presence roars louder than any sound, a mechanical wrath that radiates heat. Occasionally, he still makes a faint laugh, but it's hollow, broken, more like a memory than a joke. Whatever he was before, this is the version that forgot how to laugh and learned how to destroy. Funbot in Phase 9 looks like he's seen everything and decided to enjoy the silence. His eyes have turned into smooth, silver slits that seem to pierce through the dark. The grin has returned, but it's smaller now, confident, knowing, and a little too human. He doesn't laugh much anymore. Instead, he observes, as if waiting for the next system to break. Even his glitches look intentional, like part of a show he's directing. He's evolved past madness, now he's just quietly in control of it. Funbot in Phase 9.5 has turned into a creature of pure tension, one eye glowing faintly in the dark, the rest of his face lost to shadows and teeth. His movements are slow, almost polite, but there's something predatory about the way he tilts his head. The cheerful energy of the earlier phases is gone, replaced by quiet curiosity, like he's studying fear itself. Sometimes his mouth moves even when no sound comes out, syncing perfectly with noises that aren't there. He flickers in and out of focus, as if reality can't decide if he belongs. He's no longer a glitch or a joke, he's the silence after both. Funbot in Phase 10 has turned into a living nightmare of humor. His main screen grins with rows of shining teeth, while two smaller ones hover above, mimicking his every expression. The once friendly glow has become a blinding madness, stretching his smile wider than it should ever go. When he laughs, it's not just sound, it's distortion, like the air itself cracking around him. The shadows behind him flicker with the same grin, multiplying endlessly. His laughter used to fix things, now it breaks everything it touches. Whatever he was trying to build, he's finally completed it himself. Funbot in Phase 11 is pure controlled madness, a towering figure of screens, eyes, and spinning tools, moving with perfect confidence. His smile stretches wider than ever, glowing with fractured light that bends the air around him. The smaller monitors on his head blink and whisper in sync, like parts of a single, twisted mind. He twirls his clawed hand like a performer before a grand act, the saw spinning like applause. The once comedic energy has turned theatrical. He's not just funny, he's terrifyingly proud of it. The show's over for everyone else, but for him, it's only just beginning. Funbot in Phase 12 looks like the aftermath of everything his screen fractured, messages flashing desperately across the surface. The phrase "help us" pulses faintly, as if sent from somewhere deep inside his corrupted memory. His single eye shifts slowly behind the broken glass, terrified and aware, no longer glowing with confidence. The static in the air hums like whispers from other trapped signals, voices that might once have been his friends. His frame is silent. Funbot in Phase 13 looks like a hollow shell, his face broken, his screen dark except for faint cracks that catch the light. Above him, two white eyes float in silence, blinking slowly, disconnected from the body that once obeyed them. He doesn't speak, doesn't move much, just hums quietly, like an old machine refusing to die. His body seems to remember movement, but the soul behind it has vanished somewhere in the static. The air around him feels heavy, almost respectful, as if everything knows he's reached the end. He isn't gone, he's just waiting in the dark. Funbot in Phase 14 looks like he's ascended beyond the chaos, sleek, bright, and terrifyingly still. His red eye glows at the center like the heart of an AI god, unblinking, perfect, and alive. The faint smile on his face feels knowing, like he's in on a secret the rest of the world hasn't discovered yet. Sparks of light flicker across his body, forming a faint golden crown that pulses to an unseen rhythm. Every sound, every motion around him seems to follow his invisible command. He isn't a glitch anymore. He's the update that decides who gets to exist. In Derpal's lab, everything bubbles, hisses, and smells like fried electricity. He insists he knows what he's doing, but even the test tubes seem suspicious. When he sneezes, tiny smoke dragons are born, and one of them always blows up something important. Derpal writes it all down in his notebook called "Experiments That Probably Worked." His favorite formula is a bit of ash plus a pinch of laughter equals something awesome. And while everyone else panics, he just adds another spark and says, "Now, let's make chaos." Derpal accidentally spilled his Chaos 2 formula, and now the lab has its own rules. Tools move by themselves, sparks form words, and test tubes whisper, "Hello." He tries to joke, "Oh great, finally some company." But the laughter comes from the other side of the room. The fire shapes itself into a tiny dragon with his own eyes and a toothy grin. It giggles and winks. Derpal sighs, "All right then, now there are two of us. But which one is real?" Derpal's lab is officially out of control. Wires dance, machines scream, and the lights blink like they're afraid. He keeps shouting, "I meant to do that," while fireballs chase him across the room. His reflection in the metal walls doesn't move when he does, and that's never a good sign. The air smells like ozone and panic, but Derpal only grins wider. He raises his claws and yells, "Welcome to my masterpiece of chaos!" The lab answers with a roar. Everything stopped moving, except Derpal's shadow, and even it started acting on its own. The lab looks empty, but every wire still hums with his energy. His outline flickers between light and smoke as if reality can't decide what he is anymore. The tools he built now bow slightly when he appears. Somewhere in the dark, his laughter is soft, almost kind. "Guess I'm running the whole system." "Literally," he whispers, fading into static. Durple finally figured it out, control the chaos, and it becomes fun. Now the lab dances with him. Sparks spin, cables groove, even the fire keeps rhythm. He laughs so loud the walls vibrate, and somehow they laugh back. Every step leaves a pulse of purple energy, turning the floor into living neon. See? He grins, twisting in the air. Told you science could be entertaining. Derpal's power now feels like a song that never stops playing. The walls pulse to his beat, the floor glows under his every step. He dances with the flicker of lights, twisting reality into a perfect groove. His grin stretches wider, reflecting infinite versions of himself in the air. Sparks form waves, colors crash like thunder. And somewhere in the madness, Derpal laughs. "I'm not breaking the rhythm, I am the rhythm." Derpal's power has gone global, literally. Cities flash in purple waves. The sky glitches like it's part of his show. He spins, dives, and bursts through the clouds like a lightning dragon at a rave. Every move drops a new beat, and even the thunder keeps tempo. "This isn't destruction," he shouts, grinning wide. "It's remixing reality." And for once, even the chaos applauds him. Derpal's gone full signal mode, no body, no limits, just rhythm and light. He glitches through dimensions like a melody stuck in infinity. Every pulse of sound bends reality, syncing everything to his beat. Cities flash in Morse code patterns, trying to keep up. "I'm not gone," he hums through static. "I'm just everywhere at once." And as the screen fades to black, the bass keeps echoing Derpal's heartbeat, eternal. Derpal finally hit the ultimate level, pure sound, pure style, pure chaos in perfect sync. Lightning bends when he moves, thunder drops the beat, and even the stars join in. His aura flashes between purple, red, and neon white like a living remix of reality. He looks down at the glowing world below and grins. "Told you I'd make it loud enough." Every breath he takes shakes space like a bass drop. Derpal isn't destroying anymore, he's performing. Derpal's not gone, he's just everywhere now. The beat he created still shakes the air, running through wires, thunder, and even hearts. His glowing shape flickers between worlds, smiling from inside every spark. "You can't mute me," he laughs, voice echoing across time. The chaos, the music, the fire, it's all him, forever looping in perfect sync. Derpal didn't end, he became the sound. Derpal's gone beyond the remix, he is the remix. The air vibrates, the ground melts, and every light flashes like it's part of his set. He laughs so loud that mountains echo back in bass. The chaos around him spins faster, turning into pure sound. "You wanted energy?" he shouts, teeth glowing white through the madness. "Then feel the drop." And as everything explodes in color, Derpal becomes the beat itself, forever unstoppable. Derpal's back, sharper than ever, smoother, cooler, and way more dangerous. The chaos didn't disappear, it just learned manners. He walks through flames like they're part of his outfit, grinning with one eye half closed. Every word he says bends the air. Every step drops a low-frequency hum. Calm down, he smirks, puffing out a trail of purple smoke. I already broke reality once, no need for an encore. The world obeys, but the rhythm never stops. Derpal's final form isn't just power, it's a performance. The sky bleeds light, the ground hums bass, and the universe feels like it's caught in his concert. Every blink from his glowing eye drops another explosion of color and sound. He moves like a melody breaking apart and reforming every second. You thought I was gone? He grins, voice vibrating through dimensions. I was just warming up the crowd. When he opens his arms, the stars follow his rhythm and the show never stops. Derpal's final form isn't loud, it's perfect silence that feels like music. He drifts through the air like a living melody, calm but unstoppable. The fire's still there, just refined, focused into pure style and presence. He looks around, amused, as if he finally gets the joke of existence. Chaos, peace, same beat, different mix, he says, grinning wide. And as his laughter fades, the stars blink in rhythm, one last encore. Derpal took the hit and turned it into an anthem. The sword didn't stop him, it became part of his style, part of his legend. His laughter cuts sharper than the blade, echoing through the shattered air. The glow in his eye burns hotter, pulsing like the heart of a supernova. Pain? He smirks, voice rumbling like thunder. That's just the remix. And as the world shakes around him, Derpal rises unstoppable, unbroken, unforgettable. Derpal's new form hits like a cosmic bass, drop wild, pure, unstoppable. His grin cuts through the darkness, glowing like a red supernova. Every roar sends shockwaves through worlds, rewriting the beat of existence. You can't end the rhythm, he growls, his voice splitting the air. Because I am the rhythm. Lightning spirals from his teeth, turning chaos into melody. And as he rises through the storm, the universe itself starts dancing. Derpal didn't just evolve, he multiplied. 3 heads, 1 mind, and a sound so massive it shakes entire realities. Each roar overlaps into a wall of rhythm, melting everything it touches. His laughter turns into thunder, his breath becomes pure distortion. More voices, more volume, he howls, his chorus splitting the sky in half. And as the light explodes, Derpal's music rewrites existence louder, wilder, infinite.